brother. Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There podcast. Me and Dustin have joined each other this evening. We are going to give a quick instant reaction with most likely spoilers in it. Just a heads up for the newly released The Strangers Chapter 1. I'll just kick us off, Dustin. I went in with low expectations just because, I feel like all of us on this pod have kind of expressed some frustrations with all these legacy sequels, requels, whatever the hell you want to call them. Some of us a bit more extreme, like you, but I was kind of with you in this together with this one and the next two movies. I really don't feel like The Strangers needed a sequel or whatever. I don't think it needed to become like a franchise or anything. So I went in to see this movie with extremely low expectations. If you saw the TikTok I made, and yeah, I think they even were even lower than my expectations. They really didn't accomplish anything in this that justified the movie being made, honestly. And I know me and you are going to Stephen A. and Skip Bayless unleash on it back when the Cowboys used to lose in the playoffs. So I'm excited to unleash on this one because I really don't have much redeeming factors about it.
Nor do I. There's that famous meme where someone's holding up a cardboard sign and in Sharpie on the sign it says, "Our expectations were low, but holy fuck." That's how I feel about this movie. Like, you're right. I am harsher on all the what I call them cash grabs, like these cheap attempts to cash in on a successful movie and just continue to milk that cow dry. And that's exact. This is the epitome of why I feel that way. I was not looking forward to it going in, but I went into it with a somewhat open mind, tried to at least, because even a movie that's unnecessary or even a movie that is lazy at times in the story that they tell, even those can be entertaining. Like, they can have some entertaining qualities or some aspects of it that are redeemable. This one didn't. Like, this movie was, God, we'll get into it more in depth, but I really feel like this was one of the laziest movies I've ever seen. um, my letterbox review, which I'll give this another opportunity to plug my letterbox, go follow me. Same tag as on all social medias at DM Frank _. But I said, quote, "Can we get the strangers? We have the strangers at home, and it's this. Yuck." It's like someone said, "Hey, I've seen a movie before," and someone in the studio overheard that and it's like, "Hey, you want to make one?" It was like, this is just so uninspired. It was lazy. It was frustrating because they essentially told the same story that they did in the original Strangers, but it's like you're playing a game of telephone where you tell a story to someone and then they relay it to someone and they relate to, and by the end of it, it's a completely different story, but it's got the same bones. That's how this movie is. It's like they didn't do anything better or even as good as the original. So I was not impressed.
Yeah, I didn't put that comparison in my letterbox review, but I did post that Instagram story a couple within the past week or two where I had like the original Strangers and then the new one
Yeah.
where they were, the because you were home scene and it was like the direct TV and then the cable. That's how I did it. So same
Yeah.
thing basically. Yeah,
Yeah. You're right.
let's try and find a couple positives before we get into the negatives. Let's start off on a good note. I'll go first real quick. And you might agree with me on this one. Rennie Harlan, I thought he had. He's the director, not really a cinematographer, but there were some good shots. There were some good nature shots. A lot of really good visuals. Uh, I do think Madeline Pesh. I think that's how you say her name. If I butchered it, I apologize. I don't think she was bad. I think she did her best. I think it was serviceable acting. I
Mhm.
don't think they wrote good dialogue for her, but I think she did. I think she did a good job. Uh, I think I'm out of my good. I think I'm out of my good. There were a couple of other, good shots in it as well, not just nature shots or whatever. Like I think you wrote it or you might have mentioned it to like in conversation, but uh, when Sackhead, Baghead, whatever you want to call him, he's sitting in the chair behind her while she's playing the
Mhm.
piano, and you can see like it's kind of like that homage from the most famous scene in the original. I thought that was pretty well executed, but I do have my qualms with it as well. I mean, like she was like he's right fucking behind her, like she didn't hear him walking. I thought that was a good shot, just seeing him in the mirror. And I know you disagree, but I thought whenever she put her hand on the nail underneath in the crawl space, it caught me off guard. I thought that was a good, oh shit, that sucks moment for her. But that's about it for my good, honestly. What about you, Dustin?
Yeah, I do think there were some great shots as well. Jose David Montero was the cinematographer, and there was some good shots. You mentioned the one that I texted to you is like when she's playing the piano, and we get the shot of the mirror above her head, and he's just sitting there calmly watching, and then next thing you know, he's gone. I thought that was well done. I'll mention it in the when we get to the negatives. There's a lot of bad jump scares, but there was a couple of effective ones. Like when she goes and puts her head to the door and the axe comes through it. It's a very shining like moment there with the axe to the door. But that was great. There's some more good shots. Like I really liked when Sackhead was walking through the forest there with the axe. It's like he looked. It was very reminiscent of Jason Voorhees, and I don't know, it's hard to say that that wasn't the inspiration for it, but I love when movies pay homage to classics, and that was a cool optic of him just walking through the woods there with the axe. There was some okay tension in scenes, but I felt like a lot of it was predictable and formulaic. The uh, the nail through the hand was something that, yeah, it was a tense moment, but the way that it was set up kind of bothered me because they kept, showing her whole body and showing the ground as she's crawling. So it's like I kind of expected her. It's like, okay, I guess I'll jump into some of the negatives here, not to jump the shark, but I've made it very clear on this show that rats are like the scariest thing in the world to me. Like I fucking hate them. I was not bothered at all by the rats in this because it was so predictable. It's like when you see the first one, it's like, okay, it's probably going to be one on one of them, and it
Mm-hmm.
was. It's like,
Yep.
okay. The nail scene took me out of it because of it was predictable to me. Like they're under a house, but it also didn't make sense because that nail was not in a board. It was just a nail that happened to be standing up perfectly on its head like that. And the reality of it is, if a nail's standing up, it's a very lightweight, item. So I don't know that that nail would have stood up like that as she pressed down on it. It would have probably just fallen over. And
Yeah.
so that was the issue I had with that. But there was some positives there. There was, let me see, I've got some notes here that I took in the theater because it had my attention, but it wasn't the most compelling thing. So I was able to type some notes on my phone while I'm watching it. Um, there was a hell of a left hook from the lady stranger when she knocked Maya out. That was a hell of a punch. That was awesome. Um,
Yeah, but you really am I supposed to believe that lady's supposed to drag her with one hand, like walking
no,
forward? I didn't buy that at all.
but
Like,
the go ahead.
and that's not even coming from like that's a woman thing. It's like I'm a guy. I don't think I could drag a full grown woman with one hand, like not even looking at her. Like that's dead weight. That's heavy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the biggest positive for me was Madeline Pesh. I thought that her acting was great. The script that she was given was not. So I can't hold the performance. I thought she gave an inspired performance, and she really did a good job of conveying her emotions. And she made a good scream. Like she had a great sounding scream. I know that's a trivial thing, but in horror it makes a lot of difference. She did really well, I thought, and she was not bad to look at. Can't dance around that. She's a beautiful young lady, so I enjoyed her in the movie. But that's about it for my positives as well.
Yeah, she tried. I mean, it's like that being that star player and like a on an NBA team where you got like 40 points, but you still lose by 30. It's like you did your best. I mean, what else? What else am I supposed to do? You know?
That
Yeah,
just that just reminded me. That just reminded me of the YouTube screenshot from YouTube. The highlight, the title of the video is Chris Paul hits a three to cut the lead to 42. It's
yeah.
like that's what she did.
Let's just start from the very beginning with our negatives. I hated the opening scene. Like, what is the point of that?
Yeah,
Like, we just randomly see a guy running through the woods, and then the strangers appear and kill him, and you don't even really see the kill. It's like this. And I hate to be that person, but it doesn't feel like a strangers movie. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, and yes, I hate to just harp back to the original, but you're sequeling or whatever. Like, I don't even like, what is this movie? Like, is this a sequel? Is this just in the same universe? Like, I don't know what the hell is going on. And it just made no sense. This opening scene, like, just start off with our characters. That's how
yeah.
I'd wish. Just start off with the characters. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I put that in the text I sent you. It's like, who the hell was that guy? Like, I expected that to be something that happens later on, and we're seeing it now, and then we get thrown into the story. But
Yeah,
that's
like
not
Evil
what
Dead
happened.
Rise.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it ties it
And
all
then
back up.
that's what I expected. That's not what we got. And we never find out who it was. So that's very
Yep.
frustrating. And so maybe that's something they're going to explain in chapter 2. But at
Don't
this
care though.
point, yeah, I don't care, but also, not to be too harsh, but at this point, you might want to scrap chapter 2 because I don't see this one doing very well. Um, but also that you mentioned that first kill. When it happened, he swings the axe, but we're like behind a tree, we can't see it. Honestly, I was like, oh, okay, is this a PG-13 movie? Okay, so we're not going to get much gore. That's fine. But then, fast forward a little bit, we hear two F bombs in the same conversation. It's like, okay, it's definitely rated R. So why the
Hmm.
hell couldn't they show us more of that? That was very frustrating.
Absolutely. It's kind of like what we talked about with Megan last week. Like if you're gonna be a horror movie, like, and you're gonna get the actual rated R, like, show the gore.
Yeah,
Like, why wouldn't you already got the rated R? Why not show the gore? You skimping on money to not have effects? Like, what's the issue
and
here?
I agree because if they would have made this PG-13 because there's nothing in it other than language that would make it not suitable for 13-year-olds, then that's fine. Do that. But to have give us the R and cut so much of the violence, especially another thing that frustrated me about the opening there. I told you this. The caveat we got, there's blah blah blah, so many violent kills every 24 seconds or whatever. This is one of the most violent, most brutal ones. No, the fuck it wasn't. At least not what we saw. They didn't show us anything. We didn't even get
Yeah,
a good look at the stabs at the end.
yeah,
So if you're gonna tell us it's brutal, then be brutal or be PG-13, one or the other.
yeah. Because with like later on with that shotgun kill, that's pretty graphic. Like when they show the guy's face. Like, so
Yeah.
I don't know why they like went half assed with the kills. Like if you're gonna give us like a mediocre script and bad dialogue, at least have good kills. I mean, at least Terrifier will do that, even though it's way too much of an extreme at points. Let's just keep moving forward through the movie. Another issue I had was just like nobody is likable. Like even like the town folk. Like they go into this
Mhm.
diner and like everybody's weirded out because they're why are they weirded out? Like I don't know. And then you got like a horror like legend right now in the making, Richard Brake. He's a sheriff, but all he's there for is just to like give some like menacing looks at these people. I feel like they tried to make everybody a red herring, but we know they're not a red herring. Like the strangers are just random people who are just killing
Mhm.
people who are just happen to be home. So like you mentioned, like the mechanic, and I'll let you touch on that more. They try to make everybody a red herring and like super unlikable, and like the maybe they're the villain thing, and it annoyed me. Like every character annoyed me.
Every single one of them. These town people suck, but also the decisions that our main protagonist made. You know, what was his name? Ryan and Maya. Why the
Jeff,
fuck would they? Jeff. Jeff. Yeah, you're right.
Ryan's his real name. I thought it was Ryan too, though.
Yeah.
So I just looked at it.
Well, well, there is a. I think it is Ryan. Who's Jeff? There is a Ryan in the movie.
I'm looking at the
I don't
IMDb.
think
His name is Ryan Brown, and his name is Jeff Morrell
I,
in the movie, or Moral
I
or
don't
something.
I don't think that's him. I think look at Froy Gutierrez. Isn't that her boyfriend?
God damn it! Yeah, that is Ryan. Why the fuck would
Yeah.
they have Ryan Brown
Why
second then?
wouldn't he? Who the hell is he? Who was Jeff?
My name is
Was he
Jeff.
one
All
of
right.
the?
He might have been the
Was he one
opening
of the
kill.
guys? Might have been, or it might have been one of the guys in the diner there. I don't know, or at the burger stand. But regardless, Ryan and Maya, their decisions are so frustrating. Like you're on the interstate in this cross country trip. Like I know, oh, I'm gonna have to eat soon. That doesn't mean you take this exit and just hope to find food. Like it was, who the fuck goes that far off the interstate when you're just trying to find a restaurant? Now I get also you might, oh, let's do something local. Let's don't eat,
Yeah.
a chain. Let's find something local. There had to be closer ones, but that's not even the most frustrating part. Who the hell gets off the interstate and goes and finds this restaurant, and then immediately after can't go back the exact same way? Like he asked for directions back to the highway. Motherfucker, you just came from it. Turn around, go back that same direction.
And they had
Like,
smartphones.
and they had smartphones, and not which is how they found the diner. She looked it up on her smartphone. But also when they're driving to the restaurant, she leans over and kisses him. Stupid jump scare with the truck swerving. Like, two things about that. If you look at the camera, it didn't look like he had veered out of his lane at all. Like,
Yep.
when the camera showed their car, they were still in their lane. So that truck just made this big show of it just for the sake of having a jump scare there. And it was stupid because the guy swerves his truck and fishtails in the road there for nothing. It's like, who does that? If someone's in your lane, you don't turn and make your vehicle wider so that they can have a better chance of hitting you. That was stupid. All the characters sucked. Rudy, the mechanic, was just overly creepy.
Hmm.
There's no people are like that. No people are like that to where, like, you portray yourself to where everyone's going to think that you're a serial killer. So that was frustrating. But also, what the hell happened with their car? Did someone
Yeah.
mess with their car? Was someone in on this and sent them to? Because you had the girl all gung ho about, I'll drive you up to the cabin. So I expected her to be one of the strangers. Maybe she is. Maybe we see that in chapter 2. Too late. Um, Rudy, and his other lackey there at the garage. Oh, they're closed. We can't get it today. So are they in on it? It's like, all of that was frustrating. It was like it was done just for the sake of getting them to the cabin. There could have been better ways to do it. It could have just been as simple as, these people they live in the area and they're wanting to get away for a weekend, so they rent an Airbnb. That's a much more believable plot than what we got here. So
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, like, why not just have them stop here like they're on the way to wherever they're going, and just like, we already got an Airbnb and we're going out there, like, because if my car breaks down, I'm not just gonna. I hate to say it, but because I do. I mean, me and you have used Ubers plenty of times, but I'm not just gonna let somebody at this diner who's all been kind of creepy and weird to me drive me out there and suggest stay
yeah,
there. It just, I don't.
yeah,
The build up was just terrible for that.
it
And
was. And you could have done it that way and still got away with it to where it's believable. Like, they get to the cabin and that's when they find out, oh, the car won't start now. That makes more sense. And then he still could have, well, the owner does have a motorcycle. You still had the motorcycle, so he goes into town and buys Maya some time alone at the house to get freaked out. All that could have still been kept, but having it happen at this diner in such a suspicious way to introduce these red herrings that had no payoff, that was frustrating.
very frustrating. Honestly, I feel like their car being broke down doesn't even make a big deal. Like, because they had the
No.
motorcycle to leave on too. And yeah, anywho, another thing that's probably a small nitpick, or maybe I'm just making a bigger deal of it than it is, but Ryan having asthma. Come on, man. Can we just let Ryan be a regular dude? Like, we've already seen the asthma thing within the past couple years with Jenna Ortega in Scream. Like, that's already happened recently. Like, I don't need that. Like, he's got to
And
leave because he has to go get an inhaler from the car he forgot it in.
yeah, no, I agree. You could have just been as simple as, oh, the refrigerator's not working. They had that in there. So there's no food here. All the food's spoiled. I'll go into town and get us a burger. That is believable enough. You don't have to have the side quest for the inhaler. And especially when the asthma didn't even really come into play. He had that brief moment where he couldn't breathe, so he made his makeshift inhaler out of the water bottle.
Yeah, trying to
I don't
hide in the
know,
goddamn woods, and he's being loud as fuck.
crinkling a water bottle. And another thing that I've told to one of my good friends, Mark, who has asthma, it's like, what kind of an adult has asthma? Grow up. I'm just kidding there, but
Yeah,
I know that's a real thing.
that's
But
a kid sickness.
yeah, but no, really, you made a good point. Like, the asthma thing was just an unnecessary detail. We don't have to have that. Character depth is very important in making a movie. And who are we to talk? We've never made a movie. I'm working on a couple, but I haven't made one. But it was such a trivial aspect to add to him. It's like there was no payoff. It didn't really become a hindrance to him in the story, so there was no need for it.
But I mean, Rennie Harlan's been doing movies for 3 decades now, at least. Brian Bertino, the originator of The Strangers, is allegedly a writer. Who knows? Maybe they're just throwing his name on there just to bring people in. Because I don't always believe that James Wan is producer of every Conjuring universe movie. I think they just attach his name to bring people in, honestly. But anywho, that I'm not giving them a pass in the movie making aspect because it's not hard to write decent characters who make smart decisions. Like you're just trying to piss your audience off, or just like, oh my god, because like the guy goes back into town to get the inhaler from the car or whatever, and then he drops it again, like as they're running away from these people. It's like, dude, put this shit in your pocket. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, what are you doing?
yeah,
Holding it in your hand while you running around?
yeah. That was frustrating
It's just
as well.
terrible tension building. And I'm just going to harp on this one more time before we move on. In the original Strangers, it makes perfect sense why James wants to leave to go get her cigarettes. She told him no for for his wedding proposal. The man is devastated, and now he's stuck in this house with her. He just wants to go on a ride, clear his head, be a man, contemplate life, contemplate where's this relationship going, that kind of stuff. Like, just clear your mind. This guy's just leaving to get an inhaler. They're like they have smartphones, for God's sake. I
And
don't know. I'm frustrated.
and they had sales something that was like shocking to me. It's a movie that takes place in the woods in the middle of nowhere, and they had cell service. So if
Yeah.
you have cell service, then yeah, you're right. But also, I found it very confusing the fact that he had to ask for directions at the diner to get back to the highway when they just drove that way. But this girl just took them to an Airbnb out in the middle of nowhere that they've never been to, and he knew how to get back to town on his motorcycle.
that he
Like
never
what
that he
the fuck?
never drove before. Could
Yeah,
never
he
even
never
mention
really.
about never.
And
Yeah,
oh, he said he had a couple times or something. But uh, you also, it's dark. It was daylight when he couldn't find his way back to the highway going the same way he just came. Now it's dark. There's no lights out here because it's out in the middle of nowhere. But he knew how to get to town. All right, man. Okay. And then when he got to town, everybody at that burger stand was so douchey. So, oh, he's too good for us locals. No, man, he doesn't know you. Like he just wants to get some food and go back. He left his girl at home. You think he's going to stay and have a couple beers with the boys that he doesn't even know?
yeah,
No, that's not how the real world works. Also, why didn't she go into town with him? I think it's more plausible that she would be too freaked out just because they're in the middle of nowhere at this creepy cabin. She would be like, I'll ride with you. Boom, movie's over. Like, movie's over.
yeah.
So,
And like you mentioned about the mechanic, he was extra like dickish to him for going back to his own car. Like, I thought you was a car thief. It's like, it's my
does
car.
he
I can do
live
whatever I
there?
want to. It
Does
seems
he
like it.
live there? Like, there was no lights on in the garage. So, is he just sitting there in the dark waiting for car thieves?
My dog's on
Okay.
Russ Cole vibes, just living at work. All right, so I'm
But
just going to go ahead and get into it now. I'm going to complain about all these Easter eggs and callbacks to the original.
mhm.
They go out to a house in the woods. That's fine. But when they put the record on, you really got to have the exact same song from the original. You got to have somebody knock on the door and ask, is Tamara home? And then they screw in the light bulb that's not all the way screwed in. And you can't even, and like, I refuse to believe that whichever, if it's Dollface or Pinup Guy, I'm not sure, knocking on the door, that you can't see their face from the light in the house. Like, give me a freaking break. Like, the living room is lit up well. Like, you're going to be able to see that person's face. It's not like they knocked on the door and backed up 20 steps or anything and asked, "Is Tamara home?" And is
Yeah.
Tamara home? I'm tired of that. Like, I even complained about that in the Strangers Pray at Night. And what other callbacks? I know those for sure annoyed the hell out of me. It's like, if you're going to do a sequel or whatever this movie is, like, do your own thing. Like, quit bringing up everything from the past, which is something we
hmm
complain about a lot in the new Halloween trilogy.
And if you're going to have this many callbacks, at least have an original take on it, or do it better. But they
Yeah.
didn't even do it as good. Like it was just like I said, it seemed lazy. Um, Another thing, like one of my biggest complaints about the movie, that just from a logic standpoint, there is none. When he got the shotgun, Sackhead reaches through the window and's got his girl, in a rear naked choke through the window, and he fires a shotgun. Shotguns, I don't know if you've ever shot a shotgun. There's spray.
Yep. Huge complaint.
That would have hit her. That would have
Oh
hit
yeah.
her. If it was a rifle, a hunting rifle, then I would have been okay with it because that's a bullet. It's not a shell that's full of buckshot or birdshot. But no, he would have hit her 100%. That's just
Mm-hmm.
not. What are you fucking doing? And
That
then he's like, I got plenty of ammo. I counted. He let off like 4 shots, including the one that he shot right there at her face. And then later not that long, he pulls out 2 shotgun shells. Where the fuck did all this ammo that you had? Come on, you ain't got plenty of ammo, you
He
dumbass.
probably dropped it with his inhaler.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a huge complaint of mine too, Dustin, and it reminded me of that old Bill Burr joke. Whenever he wanted to go buy a gun for house protection, and he's at the pawn shop, and he's like, "What should I get?" And the guy's like, you just need a shotgun. You don't got to be accurate because it's got a good spread."
Yeah.
So it's like like you said, like the buckshot or the birdshot, whatever the shells, the grains are gonna. It just shoots a big wide range. Like it's gonna hit something within the path.
Yeah.
And like it just annoyed the shit out. And something else that annoyed the absolute hell out of me. At the end, the moment was too big and you pissed down your leg. You got Dollface with a gun right to her head.
Mm-hmm.
Or Pinup Girl, whichever one it is. I can't remember. And you don't do anything. Like you mentioned, like in your, I think it was either in your notes or the text to me, you didn't even hit her. You just
No.
stood there and just let her act crazy. And then you got knocked out by a Sackhead who you somehow did not hear running at you full speed in the woods until the very last second.
Yep. So I'm glad you brought that up because number one, yeah, you're absolutely right. If you got a gun pulled on someone, if they start doing all crazy, like when she grabs the barrel like that, you got to at least hit her
Mm-hmm.
because that's not controlling the situation. But also, a huge complaint that I have, or a huge issue I have, is Sackhead apparently could teleport because there was the one scene where he's watching Maya in the shower. The camera, like, we lose focus a little bit because her arm's in the way, but we can still see the rest of the door frame there. He's watching her, and then the camera moves a little bit. We can still see the shot, and he's gone, disappears. And then in the woods here, he's got like there's leaves, there's sticks, like you're gonna hear footsteps in the woods. So if you've got a gun pulled on someone who's really not talking, she's not making a lot of noise at all, you're gonna hear someone walking up behind you. What
Mm-hmm.
the fuck are you doing? Like that was also late. That was a huge shortcut that just pissed me off.
This movie it makes one of the biggest sins in the world. And it's not that it's boring because that is one of the biggest sins you can make. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest sins that a movie can make is questioning the audience's intelligence. And I feel like this movie did that a lot. Like we're not stupid. Like we know how loud it can be in the woods. We know how a shotgun, when you shoot it, like the buckshot or whatever it is, like sprays. Like you're questioning our intelligence a lot. And I really kind of got offended by it, I think. And then another
Yeah.
thing that annoyed me to death is they make the run for the motorcycle, and somehow it just ignites with
All right.
Sackhead's magic, like
No, you
magic
didn't. You
powers or
didn't see
something.
it. You didn't see it. The big red machine Kane was there, and he raised his hands above his head, and when he brought it down, it caught fire. But
My
no,
man
you're
flew out to
absolutely right.
Oregon.
Yeah. But more vehicle frustration. You mentioned the motorcycle just spontaneously combusting. How about when they get in the owner of the cabin's vehicle? How about how long it took them to get going? Took too long to get in the vehicle and get going. You're freaked out. Like these people are trying to kill you. You got to go. But then when Sackhead rams the truck and jams him up against a tree, couple things. You have a shotgun still. So why are you sending your lady off on her own? You need to stay together because you don't have cell phones anymore. Also, your foot's stuck. Okay, but you ended up getting it free. So maybe try a little bit harder. Maybe try a little bit harder to get free before you just send her out. And then number three, when he finally got he fires a shotgun and scares Sackhead off. When he got out of that, when he climbed through the windshield, Sackhead left his truck running. There's a fucking vehicle. Get in it. Go. Honk the horn and yell for Maya so she hears you. Maybe you can pick her up and scoop her on the way. But there was a vehicle, that perfectly usable vehicle that somehow took no damage. I know those 70s models Fords are built like fucking tanks, but that thing had no damage after crushing that Jeep up against a tree. But yeah, not even a broken headlight. That was kind of frustrating. But you have a
Yeah,
vehicle and you just you piss down your leg.
that's kind of a qualm I had with all three Strangers movies. Like they can just run into anything and no damage to their truck. I mean, come on. I mean, I do love the
Yeah,
original and gave it a 10, but I mean, I'll let some things slide. But when the movie's
right.
not good, I'm not gonna let it slide.
Yeah, I agree. And
Yeah,
then
very frustrating characters.
so the last issue that I have like towards the end of the movie is how anticlimactic it was. The strangers finally have them, and we were promised one of the most brutal, violent crimes in recorded history, and we get one stab apiece, and they kick the chair over. One stab. Okay, that's brutal. People get stabbed on the subways in New York. What do you? That's not that. This isn't the most brutal. Also, backing up, just if you want more violence, this is something I meant to say earlier. These people are from New York City. That was established. These people from New York City. How the fuck did he even know how to use a shotgun? That ain't just
Yeah.
something that you pick up shells and know how to load immediately. Like, you have to see it done most time. You have to know how to cock that thing. So I'm not believing the city boy knew how to use a shotgun in the first place. So that actually makes sense why he would shoot it at his girl's face, because he probably doesn't know that it has spray, spray shot. But
Yeah,
that
but
doesn't excuse the fact that it didn't hit her.
they made it seem like he knew what to go look for though, because they're out in the shed and he goes upstairs and like his girl, like he leaves his girl all the fucking time alone. He finally
Yeah.
goes back down there when she's getting attacked by a pinup girl, I believe, or a doll. It's one of the two ladies, and he just shoots at her. But like you mentioned, like if he didn't know that it shot like a shotgun does, and like he played it off, I could believe that a little more. But he made it seem like he knew what the fuck he was doing with that gun, and I didn't like that.
Yeah. I didn't like that either.
Questioning our intelligence.
Yep.
And this is really nitpicky, but I don't care. I'm doing
Let's
it
do it.
anyways. Fuck it, we're doing it live. The look of the villains, they look like they were home invaders, not like they were just psychopaths. I don't know if I mentioned that to you or not. I might have wrote that in my letterbox review. I'm not sure. But like in the original Strangers, like the guy is in a brown suit. The ladies are just in regular clothes with the mask on. And they're fucking with these people. Like they're going to kill them. Like they're torturing them. They all look like they were like breaking into houses. Like they had like the
Mm.
ladies had toboggans on, had their hair covered. The guy had like a Jason jacket on with the clothes and the pants and all that. They look more like formulaic killers, not like
Yeah.
psychopaths. I don't know if that's a big
Yeah.
issue to you or not, but to me it really stuck out. Like especially with the ladies, like with the toboggans on. Like I don't know why that bothered me so much, but it did.
I didn't really pick up on it in the moment, but since you're, nitpicking, let's go all in, let's rip it apart. I agree. I agree. They definitely look like cliche villains instead of, like you said, the original did such a good job of. These are just people that are just doing it because it's fun to them. These people are like, we're going to dress like villains. We're going to act like villains too. We're going to be villains. So yeah, I agree with that.
Oh my god! I just thought of something else. You remember back when they're in the diner and they're talking about how they've been dating for like 5 years? Like, why haven't you put a ring on it? Then at the end, when they're getting killed, he asked for her marriage, like her hand in marriage. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
I
Like,
didn't.
I
I
don't know
didn't.
why that
I didn't.
annoyed. Like it just didn't work. It's kind of like an Abigail whenever they were doing like the sentimental stuff at the end. This was nowhere like Abigail was nowhere near as bad because I liked Abigail. This one is just like, will you marry me? And like, I don't know. It's like, bro, why don't you just stick with her throughout the movie, and then y'all could have survived, and then you could have actually gotten married. I don't know why that shit pissed me off though.
Well, yeah, Maya, you definitely, Ryan does not deserve you, so I'll treat you better. But I agree, he abandoned you, but it didn't really bother me that he proposed then, because that seems like a real thing to do. First of all, I'll say that 5 years is too soon. 15 years is too soon. Don't rush into things. But if you're, you know, you've already established when they're laying on the couch having that nice moment, he didn't think she wanted to get married. She's like, no, well, that was 5 years ago. Now I do. And he's like, oh, no, no, okay, you can't plan this. I'll do it. It'll be special. It'll be a surprise. But then when you realize, oh shit, I might not get to do it the way I want to do it. We're not going to get to marry each other, but I at least want you to know as we die that I did intend on marrying you. Like that, I didn't have a problem with that. That makes sense.
I think it might have just been the way that guy delivered it. Like when you explain it, yeah, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, whenever Aaron finds Kemper's ring, like when she finds his dead body, like that was a good full circle moment to me. But like when they're about to die, and he's just like, "Will you marry me?" Like I
Yeah.
did like Maya though. Whenever she's like, "Fuck you" to the strangers, I did appreciate that. Like I did like
Yeah.
she had some spunk to her. I'll give her that.
I think, like I said, I think Madeline Pesh did a great job in the role she was given. Um, but this guy is just not a man. Um, he dies like a bitch. Don't cry in front of your lady, man. Be tough, even though you're dying. Be tough. And then also, when they're They're hiding in the bedroom. They got the dresser pushed up against the door. He's not smart. You hear all three of them are outside this door. There's a window right behind you. Fucking climb out the window and try to make a run for it. They didn't do that. And then, he's got the shotgun. They're cowering down, hiding. These people don't have guns. They've shown that. They have three blunt or bladed objects. You have a gun. Don't hide from them. Pursue them. Scare them the fuck off. Maybe even shoot them. So he's just not a man.
Pitiful.
Pitiful.
And my last qualm that I can think of right off the top of my head is you did not stay for it, but at the end of the movie, it says to be continued. And then after, like a minute or two, they go back into the hospital where Maya survives. I'm not sure if Ryan survived or not. I don't think he did he?
They didn't show him, at least what I saw.
Who cares? Who cares, honestly.
She singles all I hear.
Yeah. Maybe ready to mingle. Who knows? But anywho, mid-credit scene, why? All they did was show Maya laying in her bed, and she like leans up or something, and then you see Sackhead laying right beside her. What?
Yeah.
These are supposed to be just killers who showed up because you were at this house, not Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers stalking their victim who pissed him off. Like, what is going on here?
So you said that he was laying beside her, like in the bed?
That's what it looked like. Yeah, like she like leans up or rolls over. I can't remember exactly because I had a horrible theater audience and I was pissed and ready to leave the movie. But yeah, like they show like Sackhead laying either laying or right beside the bed. Like you see his face. I'm like, give me a fucking break.
So yeah, you said it. I did not stay for that because as soon as I saw the first credit that popped up on the screen, I audibly said, "What the fuck was that?" and got up and left. I could not wait to leave. So I didn't see that. But I have issues with that as well. Number one, that hospital room was way too dark. That was very cliche. It was like a stormy night outside. I think it was raining, like you could hear thunder. I may be wrong about that, but
no, you're right.
It was dark in there with the blinds open. That's very cliche. We've seen it 1,000 times. And then number two, I'm tired of these horror movies. What kind of hospitals are they running here? This guy, so he just walked into the room undetected, wearing his fucking mask over his head, and got in the room with her. Where's that happen at? No. You walk into a hospital with a sack over your head and see if you don't get stopped. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, every hospital I've been to, there's at least one guard or receptionist up front.
And even if it's dark, even if the light's off in the room, it's still bright as hell in the hallways. And so, I'm assuming that her door was shut. So that explains that a little bit, but it doesn't explain him entering the room undetected. It's bright as hell in those hallways. And that's just lazy.
The whole movie's lazy. I mean, I hate to admit it, but it definitely it reeks of a cash grab. The movie's honestly done financially pretty well. I think it was Bloody Disgusting tweeted it, posted about it. Like, this movie's done the best so far this year with opening weekends. And I don't think Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 are going to do that well. Like, this movie's getting some pretty tough criticism. And I really feel like, I know people online have said this. I feel like this movie should have went the Fear Street route. You should have just released them all back to back to back, then weeks. Like, cause like who's going to give a shit? Like if you wait 2 more months for the next one to come out in theaters, not me. No, I mean, if you put them like back to back to back weeks, like you did Fear Street, like on Netflix or HBO Max or Peacock, whatever, I might could at least forgive it and say, all right, next week, maybe we'll get some full circle moments or at least something. But going to the theaters for part 2, I don't know about all that, big dog.
Yeah, no, because at least if you do it that way, it's like, a week goes by after you've seen this monstrosity and you're like, shit, it's something to do. Like I can watch it at home, just put it on. If I get bored, I could turn it off. But expecting someone to, spend gas and time to drive to the theater, spend money on a ticket and concessions, and then sit through it with a raucous crowd like you had. No, people ain't going to want to do that at all.
Yeah, my crowd was terrible. But I can't really blame them. The movie was dog shit. But I'm pretty well. I feel like I've aired off all my frustrations. Dustin, you got anything else you want to say before we read Brian and Mike's comments? They couldn't join us tonight.
Yeah, it's very rare that all 4 of us see a release, this soon after, or see a new movie this soon after it releases. I was hoping we could all do this together, but scheduling is tough sometimes. But I'll read the rest of my Letterboxd review. Um, I just put that the movie is lazy and unoriginal and impressively unnecessary. It's chock full of stereotypes and some of the worst writing I've ever seen. If I never see this movie again, it'll still be too soon. At least Madeline Pesh gave an inspired performance, and there were a couple of cool shots visually. Um, Letterboxd, of course, is out of 5-star rating. I gave it a 1.5 star, and I don't know if you want to tell yours, but you gave it a 1 star. So that lets you know where our heads are at.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll read Mike's comments real quick. My biggest issue with this film is that it does nothing fucking original. It is a pointless prequel kind of movie, film, in a franchise that really shouldn't exist. Any movie they make is going to be compared to the first because it is elite. I agree, brother. This one also has two of the most annoying and unlikable characters that I have seen in a long time. Maya and Ryan suck, and there's zero attachment to them and their relationship for me. Even the killers aren't as effective in this film. I agree 100%. I can fully see the next two they've already greenlit going straight to streaming. Tap the sign, Dustin. This is malarkey. And you're right, or you're wrong, Mike. We're not done yet, so I'll go ahead and read your follow up. I'm sure you guys are done, but I meant to put the part about making my parents watch and how pissed they were after it was over. At least you got to spend time with your parents.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I'll read Brian's now. He says, at 40 years old, I'm a man, I'm 40. At 40 years old, I'm starting to question my sanity. I had the choice between Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and Strangers Chapter 1, and the allure of Cheryl Blossom from Riverdale was too great. First of all, that's fine. That's a dead giveaway that someone is a man's either married or in a serious relationship as if they watch Riverdale. I don't know a single guy who has willingly watched that show. Anyway, what the hell was I thinking? I definitely made the wrong choice. And Madeline Pesh was not the problem. The script was the problem. This was pure dog shit. And just when I think they couldn't do worse than Strangers Pray at Night, I read this was supposed to be a 3-parter, but it's not even anything that makes sense that way to me. And look, I'm a horror movie fan, so bad sequels come with the territory, but they got to stop here. This is going the complete opposite direction. Some of the camera shots did stand out as pretty good, so Rennie Harlin gets a thumb up on that at least. But this just came across as a cheap made for CW movie and forgot what it was that made the original and the first half of the sequel actually good. I tried to be open minded because I hate when we all three agree like this. That's funny. But even pretending to like, there wasn't anything to compare it. Oh, sorry. Even pretending like there wasn't anything to compare it to didn't work. 3 out of 10. Do not recommend. Make the right choice and go see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I saw that movie too, and I thought that movie was just okay. It's the worst of the 4 movies in this reignited universe that they're building with that franchise. So, but it was much better than this, and that was just an okay movie. That tells you how we feel about this.
What did you like better, Strangers Chapter 1 or Cloverfield? Just so Brian can catch a stray, possibly at the end.
As funny as it sounds, Cloverfield. As I never thought, there's only a handful of movies you could put Cloverfield up against that I'm going to pick Cloverfield over, and this is one of them.
I would pick this one just because I can look at Madeline for the movie. All right, appreciate y'all for joining us. We really appreciate y'all joining us for this instant reaction. Like I've told people online who've DM'd us when I said the movie was trash, I still recommend you watching it and forming your own opinion. You might like it. I don't know why you would like it, but I would still suggest you to watch it yourself. I'm looking forward to eventually reviewing it with all 4 of us, and we can rip it to pieces scene by scene. But we appreciate y'all joining us. Dustin, any final thoughts for you? Just close us out.
Yeah, if you made it this far and you just heard what Nico said and you haven't watched the movie already, shame on you. We say it every time. Don't listen to a show that's full of spoilers and then go see the movie because it's going to take away from it. But this one, it's okay, I guess, because this movie sucked. It's worth being spoiled.
I mean, the trailer kind of tells you what happens, but yeah, appreciate y'all listening. Y'all have a good one.
This whole movie was Maggie Hart's fault.